All right, let's talk about one of the most powerful yet, let's be honest, least intuitive forces in the universe, compounding. It governs pretty much everything, from your wealth to your knowledge, but most of us never really truly grasp how it works. So let's dive in and see if we can unpack it together.
You've probably heard this famous quote, often linked to Einstein, and it just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? He who understands it, earns it. He who doesn't, pays it. What this tells you is that compounding isn't some dry financial concept. It's a fundamental law of how things either grow or decay. Understanding it is like having a superpower, and well, not understanding it can really work against you.
So what is it really? Think of it like this. It's a simple feedback loop where the output becomes the new input. The snowball metaphor is absolutely perfect. As the snowball gets bigger, its surface area increases, which lets it pick up even more snow with every single turn. The growth itself fuels more growth.
Okay, this is such a critical distinction to make. On one hand, you've got accumulation. That's linear. It's like putting $100 under your mattress every month, 1 + 1 + 1. But then you have compounding, and that's what happens when the money you've already saved starts making its own money. It's the difference between walking in a straight line and building a rocket ship.
But here's the thing, finance is just a tip of the iceberg. This is where the idea really starts to open up. Because it turns out this isn't just about money at all. It's a universal pattern, and you'll see it show up in some of the most unexpected and important areas of your life.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Your knowledge, your skills, the trust you build in relationships, even your health. All of these things operate on the exact same principle. Progress in these areas is almost never a straight line. It builds on itself, creating this incredible momentum that can feel like it came out of nowhere. Take knowledge, for instance. Learning isn't really like filling a bucket with facts. It's more like building a scaffold. Every new idea you grasp gives you more hooks to hang future information on. This is what the legendary investor Charlie Munger called a latticework of mental models. The more you know, the faster you're able to learn new things.
And this quote from Naval Ravikant just nails it. The truly significant, game-changing rewards in any part of life, they don't come from one-off heroic efforts. They come from playing the long game. They come from iterating and reinvesting over and over and over again.
So we get it, compounding is powerful, but what actually makes it tick? What are the gears inside this engine of growth? Let's pop the hood and look at the key variables that really drive that exponential curve sky high.
Now here's where it gets really mind-bending. In the math of compounding, the rate of return, your interest rate, or how fast you're learning is important, sure. But time is the exponent. And in math, the exponent always wins. It's on a completely different level of power. This is precisely why starting early is the single greatest advantage anyone can possibly have.
This is one of my all-time favorite examples because it messes with your intuition so much. So the hare gets double the annual return, a whopping 12%, versus the tortoise's 6%. It seems like an absolute blowout, right? No contest. But because the tortoise just stays in the game for twice as long, the final result is, well, it's pretty stunning.
And would you look at that? That is the raw power of the exponent in action. Even with a much lower rate of return, the sheer unrelenting force of compounding over that longer period gives the tortoise the win. Time isn't just a lever, it's the most powerful lever you have.
This leads to another huge insight. Consistency is so much more important than intensity. Why? It's because of the brutal math of losses. A single 50% loss means you need a 100% gain just to get back to where you started. Volatility, those big swings up and down, is the mortal enemy of compounding. Avoiding the big disaster is way more important than chasing the spectacular win.
Okay, so we've been talking about the magic of compounding, but we have to remember this force is completely neutral. It has no agenda. It doesn't care if you're building something amazing or something awful. It just amplifies whatever you give it. And when it starts working against you, oh man, the results can be absolutely devastating.
All this talk about growth and momentum, it's inspiring, right? But what happens when that force is pulling you down instead of lifting you up? What if that snowball isn't made of fresh powder, but of debt, or bad habits, or a string of poor decisions?
This is where the math just gets wild. Look at this. Getting just 1% better each day leads to a nearly 38 times improvement over a single year. Incredible. But getting 1% times worse each day, it doesn't just set you back a little bit, it practically wipes you out, a 97% decline. The two paths don't just separate, they lead to completely different universes.
And you see this destructive force everywhere in the real world.
Credit card debt is the classic example, of course. But think about technical debt in a software project, where every little shortcut taken today makes the next fix 10 times harder. Or think about how tiny little lies or slip-ups can erode a reputation, slowly at first and then all at once.
Okay, so we've seen the power and we've seen the peril. So what do? How do we actually put this force to work for us? How do we make sure we are on the right side of that exponential curve? Let's get practical and talk about the playbook for winning the long game.
You know, the biggest hurdle isn't financial, it's not even logistical, it's psychological. In the beginning, when you start something new, the results of compounding are practically invisible. It feels like all your effort is producing nothing. This gap right here between what you expect to happen and what you actually see, that's called the valley of disappointment. And that's exactly where most people quit.
And this visual shows you exactly why it feels so tough. We are wired as humans to expect linear results. You know, I put in 1 unit of effort, I should get 1 unit of reward back. But compounding just doesn't work that way. All the meaningful rewards are backloaded. Getting through this early period of what feels like zero progress is the entire key to unlocking those massive gains down the road.
And really, it all comes down to this one simple rule: survive. You just have to stay in the game. That's it. Taking a huge risk that could wipe you out, whether it's in the stock market or with your reputation, is the one thing you absolutely cannot do. An interruption, a reset to zero, isn't just a pause, it's infinitely costly because it destroys the very base you've spent all that time building.
So here it is. The whole playbook boiled down to 4 simple rules. 1. Start as early as you possibly can. Time is your superpower. 2. Be relentlessly consistent. Avoid those big setbacks. 3. Be patient. You have to have the grit to push through that valley of disappointment. And 4. Always reinvest your gains. Make sure today's output becomes the fuel for tomorrow's growth. And who better to sum this all up than Warren Buffett himself? You know, he's not the best investor in history because he had the highest annual returns. Not even close. His real superpower is duration. He started investing when he was 11 years old and has just been at it, consistently, for over 80 years. Get this, over 99% of his net worth was earned after his 50th birthday. That is the power of the exponent.
And so that brings us to one final question for you. It doesn't have to be about money. It could be reading 10 pages of a book every night, or doing 1 push-up, or sending 1 quick email to check in on a relationship. What is the absolute smallest positive thing you could start doing today and then again tomorrow to get your own snowball rolling?